Do you have the time to listen to me whine about nothing and everything all at once, but mostly about time itself? Hey, I'm James, and I was born on Friday the 13th. I'm here to dork out about dungeons and design on Crumbling Keeps, the Dungeon Dorks. Time passes, even in an RPG. Honestly, I've never quite figured out a good way to do a long-term calendar type mechanic. I haven't found a mechanism that just works for me yet. But there's reasons to do so. To keep track of time at a grand scale, or even a smaller one. And two of the biggest reasons for that in RPGs is immersion and resource management. The common one is resource management. Let's talk about that first, as that's been going on for a very long time. Time passes. In a dungeon, this could very well mean you need more torches. When I think about games like Mausritter that have a great little time tracker in there, it tells you exactly when you need to be lighting your next torch. So time in itself kind of becomes a resource, in that as it drifts, your other resources deplete. Another good example is rations. Rations, you need to be measuring day by day. A day goes by, you need a day worth of rations. Pretty straightforward. But in some other systems, and I'm thinking of the Alien, the licensed one, the Alien tabletop RPG right now, danger also accompanies time. See, I think the thing a lot of people don't mention about the Alien tabletop RPG is that at its heart, it's a dungeon crawl. But as the PCs crawl around the dungeon, so too do the hidden aliens. The PCs take a turn and move, the aliens take a turn and move, and danger is always getting closer. And so, as it's a horror survival game, time is a resource. You only have so much time to prepare for the inevitable catastrophe that very well might kill you. And even in some systems, I can think back to second edition Dungeons and Dragons, where when you made a character, you also figured out their max age. When they got to that age, they die of old age. That's the end for them. So time could be a resource there too, though never once did that come into play for us. And again, I think that's a bit of there weren't really systems made to keep track of time on that scale for that long. Another easy way to get the time as a danger type feeling is next time you're playing a game, put a dice on the table, put a 20-sided dice on the table, and let it show the number 20. Every day or every round or every whatever, count it down from 20 to 19 to 18. The players don't need to know what it symbolizes, but they'll catch on pretty quick that it symbolizes something. And when that dice gets down to 1 or 0, the danger occurs. A new force arrives on the battlefield. The big bad enacts his plan. It gives that sense of tension due to time that's often missing in RPGs. Now, the second reason to track time in an RPG isn't as frequently used: immersion. Tracking time in an RPG can make the world feel alive. When there's festivals and holidays that happen on certain days of the year, that's pretty cool. Perhaps you need to get back in town in time for one of them. Or even just seasons. Have you ever tried walking around in the snow? I'll tell you, it's a lot easier to do traveling in the spring. What if you had to factor those in to your adventuring plans? I mean, certainly armies used to. And trekking about in winter is certainly going to be more miserable than a nice, mild summertime jaunt. So imagine if you could easily track a year's worth of time in that manner. In my mothership adventure, Techromancer, I got to use time in the same way that adventurers use space. Let me explain that. In a dungeon crawl type situation, when you get into a room, an event happens. You find out what's in that room. So each new space you come to unveils a new situation, a new piece of the puzzle. So in Techromancer, I endeavored to also do that with time. As time passes, new pieces of the puzzle become available. New rooms unveil themselves. That severed head that's attached to the wall, it wants to tell you more information. Your computer decodes more of the files. So in a way, it's like getting into a new room. But differently from space, whereas you can go forwards, you can also go backwards. Time only goes one way. So what time unveils cannot necessarily be taken back. And if it's missed, you can't go back to find it again later. So time is a choice. It's a resource. So what do you do with it? You want to make those interesting decisions. For time to matter as a resource, it has to be tied into some sort of interesting decision, be it role-playing or tactical decisions. Do you only have so much time to accomplish things? How many things do you want to try and do in that time? What's most important? Who do you want to save first? What resource do you want to get before the other ones are suddenly not available? A bag of gold pieces and a magic sword teeter on the edge of the cliff. You only have time to grab one of them. Which one do you get? There's a caravan in the next town over, but there's also a castle that's inevitably going to crumble at any time now. And both of these things hold the information you're looking for. Which one do you go to knowing that you might not get to the other? I've been thinking about this lately because I started Dungeon 25, basically one new dungeon room every day in 2025. And I had the thought of, well, what if the game only lasted 1 year in game time? What if you had to track every day of the year, and when you get to the end, catastrophe strikes, and you better be ready for it? How would that make the players act? What would they prioritize over other decisions? I've done this a bit in Fantasy Grind as well, where a dread cloud of darkness advances every day. And so it puts time pressure on the players as well. Time is something not used often in RPGs, and it's something I'm a bit fascinated with, and something I've been playing a lot recently in my own works. I would love to know what you all think about this. If you go into the show notes, you can find a link to leave me a voice note to give me your opinion. Do you have good resources on this? Do you have thoughts that differ? Should we ignore time in RPGs? Let me know what you think, if you have the time. Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you have any questions about anything I talked about here today or on any past episodes of Dungeon Dorks, go to crumblingkeep.com/question and ask away, or just check the link in the show notes.